Hello, my name is Jonathan Ferrell, and I teach 6th grade at Briarwood Elementary in the Shawnee Mission School District. This is my 10th year teaching 6th grade, and I'm passionate about empowering students to take ownership of their learning. I believe that when students are empowered to own their learning, it's more relevant, it's more meaningful, and it's something that will last throughout their time. Like it's a long-lasting learning, but I also believe that it's how the world works right now. Students who are able to learn on their own, and students who are passionate and are good at asking questions and being curious, those are the students who are prepared for the future. Too often we work on compliance and following directions, and I believe that those are the type of students who will be replaced through automation, through artificial intelligence, and as technology progresses. So my job is to prepare my students to not be able to be replaced. My job is to prepare my students for their future, not our past. My name is Jonathan Ferrell, and I teach 6th graders at Briarwood Elementary in the Shawnee Mission School District. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about Genius Hour projects. Genius Hour, in a nutshell, is when we empower our students to take ownership of their learning by giving them a choice and a voice in the content in which we study. Our State Board of Education has recently passed a vision that Kansas leads the world in the success of each student. And I think that we can do that. And I know that that will be done when we empower the each student part of this vision. So to wrap your mind around Genius Hour, I want you to start to think about what you were passionate about as an 11 or 12-year-old student. So for some of you, that might be a long time ago. You might need to pause the video to take a moment to think. But I want you to go back in time, and when you were 11 or 12 years old, if your teacher had said, you can study anything, what would you have chosen? What would you have liked to learn more about? What were you passionate about? What ideas or problems did you want to solve? So take a moment and have that in your brain. So we start our year each year with this question. What do you want to learn about? And each of my students takes time and they brainstorm a list of ideas of what they want to learn about. And by doing this, we immediately shift the focus in the classroom. The focus is not on me as the teacher, the dispenser of knowledge. The focus in the classroom is on the student and what's valuable and meaningful to the student. And it kind of sets the tone for our classroom all year. As we go through this process, I want to talk a little bit about why we do these projects, and then I'll show you a framework for how we actually get this done in our classroom. So the first reason we do this project is because it empowers students and increases motivation for learning. The little girl on the left-hand side of the screen there was an excellent student, but she had an interest in electrical engineering that didn't fit our learning standards. In the 6th grade science and the physical science standards, there's not a whole lot with electrical engineering. But we have Genius Hour, and through our Genius Hour time, she was empowered to bring her interests into our classroom during that time. So she brought in materials, she brought in books from the library, she had brought in ideas from experts that she had talked to, and her motivation for learning went through the roof during that time. We also do these projects because they build relationships and demonstrate that we value the ideas and dreams of each student. The 3 boys on the right-hand side of the screen were passionate about music. And there's some time for that in our class. We do a unit on sound waves, but there's not enough to make them feel like it's enough. So during the Genius Hour project, they decided to study vinyl records. So they learned about the science of how they work, the history of vinyl records, and then they spent a lot of time studying the best music of that era. And through that time, we showed that we valued their dreams, their hopes, their ideas, and we're able to build a great relationship with those students. And I have 3 little kids at home, and I know that they are different. And I know that they have different hopes and ideas, and I want my students to be in a system where those differences are valued and that their learning is customized for each individual student. We also do these projects because they build independence and confidence. The 3 guys in the left-hand corner, they created a t-shirt business, and through this process, they were then going to present what they learned. And they were scared to death at the beginning of these presentations. But they rehearsed, and they rehearsed, and they prepared, and they practiced for audiences. And by the end, when they were presenting at open house, they were a smooth presentation machine. They had built confidence and independence through this process. We also do these projects because students begin to see that there's learning beyond the teachers. The student here was excited and thrilled to study NPR, so National Public Radio. And that is not in our learning standards, but we were able to provide time for her to learn about something that she was passionate about. And through that, we hit a ton of our ELA standards. So she went out and she read a ton, and she listened to a ton, and she evaluated content, and then she produced a report on National Public Radio. But the best part was when she was able to learn from someone outside our classroom. I like to think of myself as fairly intelligent, and the people that I work with are brilliant, but there is more to learn than what we can help her with. So we empowered her to be connected to an expert. So we have an anchor from our local station that was able to FaceTime with her and spent 30 minutes just talking about how they produce content and create material for National Public Radio. And it was the highlight of her semester. She was able to connect with an expert and learn on her own. We also do these projects because they provide authentic opportunities for students to present their learning. So my students don't just produce content from me. They produce content that is shared all over the world. So that we share it through our Twitter account, we share it through Open House, we share it through local reporters when they come to our classroom to interview our students. My students are creating materials that are broadcast to a large audience. And that changes the way they view things. When you're making an assignment for a teacher versus making an assignment that will be put online, or making an assignment that will be shared with your friends and the family of your friends and everybody in the school, it shifts the way that you view learning. We also do these projects because they're ridiculously fun. The smiles on their faces and the engaged attitude they have as we're going through these projects are incredible. We spend about 2 hours a week, and it's by far the best time of our week together. If you look at the screen here, you'll see a sample of some of the projects that we go throughout last semester. So you see everything from robotics to making soap, and everything in between. It's a diverse group of projects, but I think it's perfect because when I look at my 88 students, they're a diverse group of kids. They have different ideas, different hopes, and different dreams, and different questions, and different curiosities. And Genius Hour projects validate those. Genius Hour projects say that what you're interested in learning about is just as important for your future as the content that we need to learn as a group. And at times, we can mix those together. And Genius Hour project sets the stage and sets the attitude for that type of learning. When we go through our projects, we go through these rough phases. So if you look at the screen, we see project proposals. So they write a project proposal about what they want to study, how they want to study it, and then what they're going to make to demonstrate their learning. Then they present that to a team of teachers, and we either say, great, let's go for it, or we help them modify it to make it more fit our ideas better. Then we go through a research roadmap where they spend 3 weeks gathering content to learn from. So sometimes it's YouTube videos, sometimes it's books from the library, sometimes it's articles, but they are out acquiring their own content. And we're there to scaffold and to help students who can't find the right materials, but it's a valuable process when you're interested in learning about something to go out, find the materials, evaluate the credibility of those materials, and then document what you learn from those materials. Then we move to the expert interview phase where we try to connect our students with experts across the world. Sometimes that's down the street at a local store and they can do the interview face-to-face, or sometimes it's someone across the country on a FaceTime. But the key part there is that they're learning from someone outside of the classroom that they didn't know before the project. Then we move into the making part of the project, and this is by far my favorite part. It's the create, invent, design, and build phase, where the students apply what they've been learning. So for the students who are learning about robotics, they make a robot. For the students that are learning about how soap works, they make their own soap and figure out that process. It is a rich time of learning. It's a little bit chaotic because we have 88 different projects flying around the classroom, but it's a time where the students are actively applying what they learned and they're engaged in creating something, and that's really meaningful. Then they write a speech and they create a presentation to present to an audience, and then they broadcast that learning. So sometimes we do that with younger classes. So my kids are the big kids in the class. They are the 6th graders of the big kids in the school. So they're the 6th graders. So we go down to 5th grade through kindergarten and they share their learning that way. Other times we invite the whole school to come to an open house and they share with the friends and families in the community of our school. Genius Hour projects are a powerful tool to empower your students to take ownership of their learning. You will never regret making learning relevant and meaningful for your students. I'd be happy to answer more questions and to help you with this project. One great tip is to go to Twitter, #GeniusHour, and you will be overwhelmed with teachers from across the world, pre-K through 12th grade, working through these projects. You'll get a ton of ideas. You can also follow me on Twitter at Jonathan Ferrell. Thanks.